Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Tento here. I'm here to show you how to make the parts of a pond. I'm not going to do a whole pond. I'm going to give you just the different pieces because I want to see what you can make on your own. What did you say? That someone's in the background? Where? Under my flowers? Oh, let me look. Oh, look who's here! Freddie and Frida, and who do they have with them? Some little ducklings. I think they want to see your ponds as much as I do. So we're going to get to those parts, but today on this particular video, we're going to just look at how to put the paper together for the pond and how to put the rocks and the logs and some of the grasses and cattails around the edges, and if you want to do it a flat one or three-dimensional. So why are we learning about a pond? We're learning about a pond today because in the springtime it is such a lovely place to go and explore because there's all kinds of new life that happens, and like baby ducklings and frogs' eggs and pollywogs and tadpoles and frogs, and what else? We see fish in a pond, we can see ducks in the pond, and we can see, I don't know, bugs, maybe some dragonflies, maybe some other things. So let me start with our paper. I took 2 pieces of paper and I taped them right down the middle on the back so that it would make a long pond. If you wanted to do like the book Box Turtle at Long Pond, or you could make them 2 together like this, so you flip them over so you don't see the tape. And then the next thing you can do, if you don't want it in the long way, you can make a pond that is together, strips of tape down the long side, and you can make a pond that's this shape, or a rectangle, big rectangle shape like this. The other one is more of a stretched out rectangular one. I'm not going to even attach anything till I need to. But first of all, you're going to need to get some gray colored paper. More, you may need more than one. You may not have enough, I don't know. I've tried to send you as much as I could, and we've got more coming your way this week. Miss Christine just told me she's in school and getting that all together for all of you. So, and you're going to need some brown paper. You might want to cut it into rectangles and squares, and maybe even some like this. Now, if you're doing a flat log, let's say you want a place for a turtle or a beaver to be waiting to get their lodge made. You're going to, uh-oh, did that stop? No, it didn't stop. Okay, you're going to want to trim the edges so they look more like a log. And I'm gonna do that and make it rounded. And you're gonna take the other end, and maybe this end isn't quite as rounded, and maybe it's got a funny little branch coming up from it, like a lot of logs do not. They're not all perfectly straight when they've come across a pond. They're usually a broken limb off of a tree. So there I have a little log that I could put around my pond. And I'm doing most of these around the edges. Maybe my log's gonna point in toward the middle. Haha, how about that? Maybe the beaver's already begun to make his lodge. But usually a beaver will make their lodge where the stream enters into the pond, because they're the ones that made the pond by blocking it up with what we call a water dam. So maybe your log's gonna wanna go here, and maybe you wanna make a little lodge for a beaver at the end. That's going to be up to you, boys and girls, because this is your creation, not Mrs. Tento's. Now, I might want some rocks, and are rocks perfectly square and perfectly straight? Not at all. So I'm going to cut some shapes that I think might be what a rock might look like, and they have all kinds of edges, and they might have smooth edges and sharper edges, and I'm just going around and around. Oh, that's too smooth on that part. Except you could use this part to edge your pond. It could go right up to the edge so that it doesn't go outside of your pond. and then you can color shadows in with that. And then the next part I would like you to know is how to make some cattails. So let's see. Oh, before we go on to cattails, you might want to do three-dimensional. That means it stands up. You can either fold an end so that it stands up and shows, or you can just take your piece of paper. Maybe I'll use a smaller rectangle instead of a long one. I'll use a smaller one, and I'm just going to take it and I'm going to roll it up. Roll it, roll it, roll it. And there I have a log. It almost looks like a toilet paper roll. You could even use a toilet paper roll. Paint it if you have paint. Paint it brown or light tan, and you can glue it onto your pond like that. Now you'd want to put leaves or other branches sticking out from it to make it look more realistic. So far we've got a branch, rocks. You can make more than one, of course. And we're getting our pond ready and made. We're going to take, for cattails, which are really fun. They look like sausages on a stick, or like a corn dog, very cooked corn dog. But we take a long strip of lighter brown paper. Now this, if I was doing a very modern pond, just to make it look impressionist, meaning that it has the impression of what it looks like, but it's not real looking, I could leave it with the pointed edges. But because I'm making more of a realistic looking pond, I'm going to take my long skinny rectangle, which to make a long skinny rectangle like mine, see my paper, you take a piece of paper that's, oh, maybe about 5 by 7, and you can fold it in half. And you can fold it the skinny way again, a la hot dog way, remember? And you can open it up, and I'm not going to open mine all the way. I am going to keep them nice and close together, and I'm going to cut right down the middle of that so that I have 2 rectangles out of one cut. There we go, 2 rectangles. And then I'm going to take the other one and I'm going to cut right down the fold. Now, if you're like me, I like to get more done at once than do it 2 and 3 and 4 times. So I'm taking 2 of these, and all I'm doing is making a little half circle around, and I'm cutting off the corners, and I'm making like a rainbow shape out of the top of it. And then I'm doing the same thing. I could do like a complete rainbow like we did with making our reindeer, and it looks like a reindeer leg. Oh, my scrap does, remember the reindeers with the legs like that? And then I'm going to take one of those tan, they're lighter brown, because cattails do not have dark green necessarily. They could, you could use green. And then there, once you glue that together, you have a cattail to put on your pond. And it looks really nice up against the blue, but you might want to make it stand up. So you're going to have to figure out how to make a cattail stand up if you want a 3-dimensional pond that we're looking down on. Okay, so that's your cattail. You put glue on the cattail stem, then place the cattail on. And you might want to cut the corners of the top of that so that it's not so pokey looking, and that's a little more real looking like that, okay? See that? There we go. Now, another thing you're going to want to get ready for your pond at this time is you're going to want to make some grasses for around the edges. You have your reeds and the cattails, and your grasses, you could cut a long strip of green. It can be this color, or it can be the lime green, or it could be just the real Kelly green. And I'm going to cut a few of those. And the way I'm going to make my paper ready for cutting that is I'm going to just fold it to make a long strip. That way, okay, you can do what we did when we made our Amazon rainforest coconut trees. Do you remember how we had a long strip of wider paper, of course, but this is a little place. And we went from one corner and kept cutting long, just careful, till we get to the other end. And there you have it. You have your 2 grasses. And if you want to have them stand up, these are big enough that they could stand on their own. Just fold the bottom. Remember how we make stand-up things by folding the bottom? And they will fold up and they'll decorate all the way around your pond. You can do them. And that would be interesting. Now, I would not fill your pond up yet because you want to put your cattails, your grasses, your rocks, and your logs. So you want logs, more than one maybe, because you might want turtles on your log. You want some rocks here and there, not everywhere. You could even put a rock out in the middle. Stand it up by doing this. Have one straight edge and fold it and glue this underneath part. You know how to do that, boys and girls. And then it will stand. You can glue it in the middle of your pond so it stands up. Could be a rock sticking out of the middle somewhere. Anyway, and so that's how you make it three-dimensional. I'm leaving that up to you as to how you do that. Now, the next thing, you've got your grasses. Now, I want some dark green too, because not all grass is the same color. And I'm gonna make my my grass the same way. It's just a darker, sturdier grass because it's got a wider bottom. It's just a thicker grass, and I'm gonna fold it so it can stand up. Or I could lay it down around the edges. If you do it around the edges, you might want to make them a little smaller. But I'm leaving that up to you, boys and girls, because you have shown me that you are fantastic at your own crafts, at doing your own artwork. And I'm just here to give you some ideas with this. So once you've gotten all the edges and a few things in the middle, then the fun begins. Then we're going to put some fish in the bottom, well, where you can see them. And I'm going to just grab out of I have a bag here, and I'm just going to grab a few things that I need to make fish. I could use an oval. How could I make a fish out of an oval? Let's see if I have some other paper. Oh, there's another paper. I could make a tadpole. I could make a fish. Let me show you how. If you want a fish to be the same on both sides, I can fold it over, and you can either draw it in or you can just cut it like I do. I just cut myself a little. I start like I'm making the rainbow like we did with the other animals, and I'm leaving a little space at the top here, and I'm going to make a fin, a little fin out the top. Not the greatest. It might end up looking more like a green dolphin, I don't know. And then that's not the best looking fish I've ever seen. But then when I get toward the end, I'm gonna cut out to the corner. So it almost looks like a mouse with a funny tail. I don't know, it's a funny looking thing. Let's see what it looks like opened up. Well, not quite a fish. Let me get that sleeker. So if yours ends up like mine, I'm gonna cut some of that bubble off the back of that fish. He looks like he or she ate too much for lunch. But maybe I'll make another fin. Hey, that would be sharp. There. Now let's see, does that look more like a fish in the water? Let's open it up. Oh yeah, that looks more like a fish. And then my tail, I don't have to leave it flat like that. I can do a little cutting like that. Let me show you how that shape looked. I cut it so that it's just a little curve. And when I open it up, there's a little fishy tail. And because all fish tails can look different, you can even fringe it a little bit if you want. A little bit, not a lot. Just a little tiny bit, maybe 3 or 4 cuts at the most. And there it is. It's got a little bit of fishtail stuff. You can put an eye on there. You could even make scales if you want to make them out of colored greens, or if it's a rainbow trout, maybe it's got a rainbow on it. And then you just put it in your pond. Like so. You just glue it onto the flat part, because even if it's three-dimensional, the fish are still going to be swimming in the water. And I want to show you in just a minute what I have at my house, and you might have it at your house too, that you could put over top of the pond or even part of it when you're done. I'm going to go run and get that and show you on the next time. Bye, boys and girls. Start making your pond now.